Okay, so welcome to this brief demonstration. And this tutorial will be setting up actually Zyxel USD Flex 100 firewall. And the firewall, just a very little firewall, desktop firewall from Zyxel. And just to have a look at the image of the firewall. So you could see this is just a desktop firewall from Zyxel network. And can go through these images and see the front end of the firewall. A pretty much very simple firewall. Here we have the can zoom this image. So we have the console port, we have the USB, and we have the WAN port here. And this is what is connecting to my ISP. And we've got a couple of ports which could be used as LAN as well as DMZ. So currently on this port 2 here, my um, Zyxel Firewall is using this port 2 as the LAN, and that connects me to my switch, Cisco 2960 switch, where my laptop is currently connected on that Cisco switch. And on the WAN, I have another cable that connects me to my ISP. So if we go to the whiteboard to just have an overview of what we have here. So I've got a home router here from MTN, that's the ISP I use here, and this is their 5G router. And this home router is on 192.168.0.1 and is going to connect to my Zyxel firewall. There's the Zyxel here, and the home router is going to connect to the WAN port of the firewall. So this port here is labeled 1, and I have 4 ports here. This is port 2, port 3, port 4, and 5. So I have another cable here that connects me to my LAN. So I have a Cisco switch here, 2960 switch, and on the switch I've got my laptop connected, which is what I'm using in this demonstration. And so we'll see the default settings for the firewall. Default IP is 192.168.1.1. Firewall username is admin, and the password is 1234. So let's get into the firewall. Firewall come already installed with a DHCP server. If I could just open up my system CMD, and we check what my IP address is, ncpa.cpl, just to check that I've connected to my switch with a cable on my Ethernet, and go to details. You could see that already I got an IP address assigned to my PC from the DHCP server running in the firewall. The DHCP itself is 1.1, and then gateway 1.1, which exactly is my Zyxel firewall that I have on the table here. So having known the default IP address of the firewall, how do we get into that guy? So we head up to a web browser. Here I'm using which browser I'll be using now is Google Chrome. So in the browser, I'll just have to type in the IP address of the Zyxel firewall, which is 1.1, and yeah, let's try and access it. So here it is asking me for the username. So as already seen in the whiteboard, the username is admin and the password is 1234. So we're going to go ahead and type in these details. So username of admin, all small letter, default credentials, and then password 1234, and we should be inside our box. We could also click on the Nebula mode there. So the firewall first and first is going to prompt us to change the credentials. So new password, going to quickly change the password to something else and confirm what the password is. That changes the default password of 1234. Click on apply. All right, so we have to log in again, and this time with the new password, which we just set. So the username will still be admin, and then the new password to whatever we have set it to, and then just go to login. So we could also use Nebula to get this guy set up. We'll do that later on. So click on login. Let's see the dashboard, the interface of the firewall. All right, so it's going to ask us the deployment of this firewall. Do we want this firewall deployed on premises mode or Nebula mode? Nebula is going to deploy this in the cloud, where we could be able to control the firewall from any location. Okay, so here we are going to select the on-prem, and that's what I want to use for now. As we make progress here, we could switch to Nebula and be managing it through the cloud. So go to next, and if there is a need for firmware upgrade, we could go ahead and update the firewall firmware. I'll just go to next, On here, we connect to the internet using the WAN port on the firewall, and the ISP parameters are expected to be entered here. I just showed you my topology, and I'm connected to MTN 5G home router, and this home router is on 192.168.0.1, and the home router comes with DHCP already set up. So we've got to tell the firewall how it should get the WAN IP. So we know normally for us to get connected to the internet, we've got to get ISP details from whichever ISP we're using. So what we mean by ISP details, ISP is going to provide us with a public IP address, which will be configured on the WAN port of the firewall. ISP is going to provide us with subnet mask, and ISP is going to give us a default gateway. ISP as well is going to give us DNS server. All right. So these are parameters we need to get from ISP to use it to set up the firewall. And if we already have those details, we could come here. You could see IP address assignment is on auto, which means that you could ask for IP address to from my home home router, which is connected to the WAN port of the firewall. So I could go to the static. If the ISP has given me those parameters manually, I could put this to static and go to next, where I'll be expected to put whatever the public IP is, the subnet mask provided by the ISP, the 4 gateway, as well as my primary and secondary DNS server. So I'm using a home router here that the IP address is 0.1. So I could go ahead and give the firewall 0.2. So any other IP that happens to be on the same network with my MTN 5G router. But if I don't want to set all these things manually, I could as well tell my firewall to go ahead and request these things to be filled up automatically from the home router, my MTN 5G, and all these details will be filled automatically. So to do that, I'll have to put it back to automatic. The WAN port should be configured automatically, which means the firewall is going to request an IP address, subnet mask, default gateway, and DNS from my MTN 5G router. The router is going to fill all those details automatically. So let's go ahead and put it on auto and get all those IP and subnet mask, default gateway, and DNS filled up automatically. Go to next. And here, the ISP parameters is configured, which should be pulled out automatically. And you will see the first WAN interface here is on the zone of WAN. So the zone basically is a way of telling the firewall which part of the network that this port will be connecting to. And so for the fact that this port is on the zone of WAN, the firewall understands that that port is going to be facing the internet and is going to pay attention to all the traffic coming into the firewall from that direction. So go to next. All right. So yeah, so I think congratulations, the internet access wizard is completed, and this is the summary. So IP address configuration is gotten automatically. We can go ahead and click on connection test to see if the firewall can get to the internet. All right, so you could see connection test is okay. So it means the one side of the firewall setup is done, and we could go ahead and click on next. Current date today is 5th of June 2023, and could check maybe time zone, check it to your own region and all that. Make sure that daylight saving, your sync and all that. So go ahead and click on next. I'm going to leave everything as it is. And what actually is happening here is that we are scanning the Zyxel portal and trying to see if we can download the latest firmware for the firewall. So the firmware available is version 5.36, and this is about 100 MB. Once the firmware is done downloading, the firewall is going to be rebooted. So just hang on. So we are done downloading the firmware, and installation of the firmware into the Zyxel firewall is in progress. And once the installation is complete, then we go ahead and the firewall reboots itself. We'll go ahead and log in back into the box, and we'll continue the setup. But the WAN, which is the wide area network port of the firewall, is done configured. We already got an IP address from my MTN home router, MTN 5G modem, and yeah, we'll just go ahead and set up the LAN side of the firewall, and we'll go ahead and begin to do other setup inside the box. Okay, the firewall is done rebooted, and we'll have to go ahead and log in again with the password. All right, click on login. Okay, so this is just terms of use as explained by Zyxel. So if you like, just go through these terms of use and make sure you acknowledge it. You can also download it. So you click on this icon to download it, have it somewhere in your laptop. And once you are done, and acknowledge that guy, close this window. So I have read and understand the information and terms, then click on acknowledge. So it's going to allow us to get back to the firewall. And once again, this is going to be on premises mode. Then next. All right, so at this point, we need to register the device. So registering your device is prerequisite for receiving notification when firmware is available and for activation license. So we've got to register this device. So you will see the device registration status is not registered. So to register this device now, I have to click on register. So it's going to take us. The information you're about to submit is not secure. So that's my web browser. So click on send anyway. So here we've got to sign in into our Zyxel account. If you don't already have a Zyxel account, you can go ahead and create an account. You see, create an account here. So you're going to create an account from Zyxel Network Portal. This account will be used to activate the device. We'll be asked to provide the serial number of the device and all that. So at this point, I'll have to quickly create an account, put in my email address and create a password and all that. All right, so account have been created and I have logged in into my Zyxel account. And here you can see registration and activation. Your device is now registered and security services are activated. So as far as this firewall is concerned, these are the services that we have subscribed for. So there is going to be anti-malware, email security. That's quite good and impressive. We have secure reporter. We're also going to have application patrol, which means you should be able to filter some application like Skype, Zoom, etc. in the firewall. The firewall has also got an IPS, which is intrusion prevention system, which means you should be able to configure intrusion prevention, security profile sync, collaborative detection and response, Nebula professional package or pack service, and of course URL filtering or website blocking. So we have actually come through the full activation of the device, and this process is pretty much similar from one vendor firewall to the other. You just have to go to the portal and create an account and put in your firewall serial number, and the box should be up and running, and all the services and subscriptions that you have paid for will be fully activated, as we can see here. All right, so let me get over to the other tab. Already we clicked on register and then we have registered the device and the license has been activated. So go ahead to next. So we can finish up the setup. Your device is not registered. Please click on register. So obviously we would have to refresh the browser and the device registration should kick in. I'm going to go ahead to refresh this particular browser now so that we'll be in sync. All right, so the moment I've gone ahead to refresh the browser, you can see that the device registration status is now showing registered. Before now, it was showing not registered. So just have to refresh the browser. You see that we created the account on another tab where the activation was done. And we'll have to go over to the other tab and have to refresh the tab to sync it with the tab where the activation is done. And then the status of the device is registered. So our firewall is up and it should be able to protect anything I have connected to my 2960 Cisco switch, like my printers, devices, laptops, servers, etc. We'll go ahead to next, and this is the confirmation of all the services that we have subscribed for in this firewall. So you can see the step-by-step here. We'll set up the connection to the WAN, which is our internet connection. We'll set up time and date. We'll register the device by going to Zyxel Firewall and creating an account, thereby activating some services, subscription made in the device. And you can see that's where we are now. We can also go ahead to the service settings and then wireless settings and then remote management of this device. And then we're done with the initial setup of the firewall. So once this is confirmed, we go ahead and what I actually do here is to get a snipping tool. So I want to get my snipping tool here and just snip this, just keep it. I'll need it later. All right. And so what I can do now is to go to next. And we can see the service settings, the URL threat filter is enabled, anti-malware is enabled, IPS content filter is not enabled at this point, application patrol, email security secure reporter. So we'll go ahead and enable all this, everything. So for business productivity protection, there's also for children internet protection. So this is business. So go ahead and block high security risk applications. Go ahead and enable email security. And that's pretty much it. Detection and response, go ahead and enable it as well. All right, so I have read and accept. So you can actually download the terms of use of these services. And we'll go to next. So the device will be, yeah, so here we can see the server status is connected. So we actually have a communication to secure reporter from Zyxel. Device name, what do we want to name this device is up to us. Maybe Edge Firewall 01 and organization. Excuse me. Organization would be the company that we are setting up this firewall for. So then once that is entered, and we can go ahead to next. Let's just put in something here. Device name, we'll just say this is going to be Edge Firewall 01 organization. Yeah, so for now, this is fiber train, and we'll go ahead to next. We'll probably, okay, fiber train demo, and we'll go to next. All right, so read the data protection policy, and then choose the level of data protection for traffic going through this Zyxel device. Partially anonymous, fully anonymous, we don't want anything anonymous. What it simply means is the data, usernames, MAC address, email address, and host names are clearly identifiable in an analyzer, reports, and downloaded archive logs. Personal data cannot be removed from the security reporter. If you said partially anonymous, so your personal data like usernames, MAC address, email address, and host names are replaced with artificial identifiers in downloaded archive logs. Personal data can be removed from security reporter. Fully anonymous personal data like usernames, MAC address, email addresses, and host names are replaced with anonymized information in analyzer. It's all really up to you what kind of information about your account do you want to have in the reporter. Okay, so I think for now, let me just say fully anonymous and then go to next. All right, so here, do you like to enable AP controller feature? So if you got like Zyxel access points, and this access point, of course, will be configured for your employees to connect to the access point, and you want to control the wireless through the firewall, then you've got to configure the access point controller feature of this firewall. So I don't have any access point from Zyxel here that I want to manage from this firewall, so we're going to leave it on the default selection, which is on no. Go to next. And so here, how do you want to manage this device, especially when you are not physically where the device is? How do you connect to it? So you can restrict device management from the WAN. So you don't want to manage this device from the internet side. So you restrict access only to a trusted host. So maybe you want to always connect to this device. Of course, we're using HTTPS. That's what we're using here, the port 443. If you don't want this device to be managed from over the internet, let's say you are at home and then you needed to set up something in the firewall, it means you cannot connect to the device from over the internet. You probably have to have maybe a remote access VPN configured. So you have to VPN into the local area network and then from one of the systems inside the LAN, gain access to the firewall. You might also be specific on which particular system should be used to always connect to this firewall. And then you can put an IP address. For instance, if I have a PC on the LAN, maybe it's 192.168.1.100, and this is the PC that I should always be on before I can have access to the firewall. We can also restrict SSL VPN access from the WAN and all that. So a whole lot of possibilities. I want to remove all this. So I want to connect from any system I have within the LAN. So I don't want to tie it down to a particular system. And I would also like to have access to the firewall from the wide area network from the outside. And just go ahead and click on finish. And this is the initial setup of the firewall. So the firewall is up and running, and we can now begin to fine tune other stuff, create policies, etc. inside the box. But this is the initial setup. And so you can see the dashboard, and we are seeing here CPU usage, memory usage, and the flash usage, USB, etc. All the things going on in firewall. Firewall not really doing anything much at the moment. And so CPU usage should be like between 5 and 10, throttling between 5 and 10%. There's the front panel of firewall, and we're actually using 2 ports there. This is the WAN, and this is the LAN ports of the firewall. and we can say that everything is pretty much fine at the moment. All right, so everything is kind of like good to go. And in our next video, of course, we'll be setting up policies, intrusion prevention policies. Should be creating application filter policy and web browser or web filtering policies. All of these things will be done in subsequent videos. But this particular tutorial just say how to quickly set up this box. I hope you find this video beneficial. Thanks very much for watching, and see you in our subsequent tutorial.